Hello, lovely people. Hi, happy Friday. It is Catherine Massell, conscious creatrix, 5D visionary, creator of consciousness mechanics, co-creator of consciousness mechanics. I have got some juicy stuff for you today. I have compiled all of my thoughts and wrote them down because obviously from this title, it's quite a bit to unpack. There's a lot going on with this topic. So, as is my usual fashion, I try to compartmentalize things and concisely package things in a way that I can present this information to you in a way that you get it, in the way that it can ground and anchor into your consciousness, in a way that makes sense, maybe not completely intellectually making sense, but you get it on a multidimensional level, because we are all multidimensional at this point. Hello, we are. And I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to get into it. So, how the multidimensional perspective works and why we are capable of using the tools of 5D consciousness mechanics now, right now. Hi, Amber. So, let's unpack what 3D is and what 5D is, because some of us kind of have a shaky understanding of what multidimensional perspective is. So I want to break it down in a way that we can understand. So first, let me separate out and parse out what 3D is versus 5D. So 3D is, ego is in the driver's seat. This is the best way to talk about 3D. This is a fractionated experience. You are a thread of source. You are an expression of source. You are never not source. You are never separate from that, even though source consciousness, which is the one-all intelligence, in its wisdom, has fractionated off parts of itself, has subdivided itself, so that we could have different levels of experience. And all of this feeds all this information of you, me, an ant, my dog, being an expression of who we are as source, feeds the collective one mind of source. It gives it information, okay? We're in this constant feedback loop. And so in this fractionated part of source, in 3D consciousness, it's a very dense reality. And it is run by this illusion, this program, that the ego is running the show, that the ego is in the driver's seat. And this is where we've collectively, in the hive mind of ego scope of perspective here in 3D, bought into this idea that ego runs the show, that me, my problems, my victimhood, my martyrdom, my issues, whatever, is running the show. That's never the case. That's the overlay illusion of ego that we've collectively agreed on here, okay? This is where you've agreed also at the level of your higher self. So there's actually different higher selves. And these higher selves are even subdivided parts of the oversoul, which is a closer expression of source. If you think about, in a multidimensional perspective, that there is the one mind, pure source consciousness, pure source being, the universal consciousness, okay? And there are fractionated bits and pieces of that all the way down to 3D reality and density, okay? And it even goes lower than that. There are lower dimensional realms than us. There's first dimensional and second dimensional, okay? We're not going to talk about that here because we don't need to. What we need to understand is what's happening in the dimensions above 3D, because this pertains to our reality right now, okay? So where many of us are missing the point is that the higher self, at the level of our higher self, which is another subdivided portion of source, but it's going closer to the one universal mind, the one consciousness, the higher self has agreed to immerse itself in this game. Your higher self knows exactly that it's playing this game of illusion here of 3D. And in actuality, the higher self is in the driver's seat. But it is allowing the ego to play out this game, because otherwise it would be no fun. It is allowing the ego to play out this game of illusion here in 3D, letting it think that it's in the driver's seat. It's not. Your higher self is in the driver's seat. This is where we get it wrong down here, and this is kind of our problem, because we get immersed in the victimhood, the martyrdom of playing out different ego patterns, patterning of being. And we think because all of our focus and attention is on this level of suffering that comes at living at this level of existence, that that's all there is. But it's just our attention and our focus needs to go on living at the level of our higher self, which is completely and absolutely possible right now, okay? So the higher self has agreed to immerse itself in the game of illusion, all the smoke and mirrors of 3D, okay? The programming that is superimposed on the higher self. This is where, and a lot of people don't like to hear this, a lot of people don't want to hear this, but this is, I'm not going to say this is the truth, but this is a version of the truth that we can understand down here while we're wrapped up in the density of 3D. That is, the higher self has agreed to play this game and has agreed to let the ego believe that it's in the driver's seat. And it is where we are hiding the truth from ourselves for the purpose of vibrational exploration. The higher self is fully participating in this process. Okay? A lot of people don't want to hear that. But we have decided to come here and play in this 3D playing field to explore the range of vibrational experience here. And we do this by playing certain ego games, okay? We have access to the full spectrum of emotional experience down here. This does not exist in other realms of dimensional experience, by the way. This vast spectrum of emotional experience that goes from the lowest lows to the highest highs, this doesn't really exist in other dimensional experiences. So that's what's the fun game of being in 3D. This is why we wanted to come here. A lot of people don't want to hear that either, but it's not the truth, but a version of the truth that, again, you can understand and bring in to your body right now in a way that feels like it doesn't make you want to stretch your consciousness too much or jump out of your body. So when you remove the overlay, okay, this ego programming that is superimposed over the higher self, you move out of density. And the lower thought forms, the lower belief systems that veil our perception of the subtle realms of higher dimensional experience, higher planes of experience, that gets removed. And this is when we begin to change our perceptual awareness. And we move through 4D. We start to play in this realm. We're all in 4D. We go in and out of 3, 4, and 5D all the time now. Okay? This is especially due in part to the Lionsgate portal, which the shadows of these energies, and I don't mean that in a negative way, but kind of the last fragments of these energies are still playing out in our reality in a very big way, bringing in a lot of higher light quotients into the planet. This is still happening as part of the Lionsgate portal, so it's really exciting, actually, because we keep shifting our perceptual awareness, and we can keep opting into anchoring into higher timelines if we decide that for ourselves. If we decide to play the game from the level of our higher self, we can totally choose to do that. Or if we choose to stay in duality of the ego. It's entirely our choice. Entirely our choice, okay? So it's a super exciting time. I mean, if you geek out on this stuff like I do, obviously if you've been watching me or listening to me for a while on my podcast or watching me on my YouTube channel or watching me here on Facebook, I love this stuff. I love to talk about it. I love to geek out on it. I like to explain it. I like to break it down so that we can all kind of get this and we can keep moving forward through this very accelerated timeline of ascension awareness. We are moving really, really quick through different dimensional awarenesses and having different experiences in parallel timelines. We're not always conscious of it. But this is a super exciting time to be alive. We are in like a sweet spot of dimensional awareness now. That's why it's so important to be able to work with these tools that are coming into our awareness now. So 5D is when you remove the overlay of the ego programming. You move out of density. You move out of those lower thought forms, those lower belief patterns. And it's important to remember that only a small portion of your beingness, okay, like you have this sense of I'm alive, I'm drawing breath, I'm thinking thoughts, I'm swallowing, I'm digesting, I am, okay? That sense of beingness. There's only a small portion, a small, microcosmic, fractionated portion of your being in terms of you being a part of pure source consciousness, only a small fraction of that is present in the physical body. A tiny, tiny portion of it. This is just a thread of an expression of universal consciousness, of pure source being. And there are many, many threads of the expression of you. And this is where you can start to talk about parallel realities. But it's also about coming, and parallel realities would be another way to say to have multidimensional consciousness, okay? So there are many, many threads of the expression of you that lead back to the ultimate expression of all consciousness, which is source. So there's many, many roads for you to explore, to go back to source, to have an idea of what it means to go back to pure source being and universal consciousness. It's all being decided by what vibration you choose to explore it in, okay? So you can choose to explore it in the vibration of your higher self. You can choose to explore it in the vibration of your lower self. Entirely up to you. But the opportunities for exploring at the level of increasingly accelerated vibrations of higher selves, all of this is available to you now. That's why we're in such an incredible energetic sweet spot at this particular point in time. And it's hard to nail this down to something linear and local, because there are a lot of different expressions in parallel realities and multidimensional perceptual levels of awareness that are happening simultaneously. That's what multidimensional awareness is. It's having different perceptual awareness based on different vibrations that you're going in and out of all the time. You'll have different experiences based on that. And we're going through this all the time. Problem is, we don't have a way to really articulate it or put our finger on it, and so we're not fully conscious of it, but you can be, okay? And you can work with these higher levels of expression that are available with 5D, 6D, 7D, 9D, 12D, and beyond, if you choose that. We're fully capable of working with these tools and technologies that resonate at a vibrational expression of 5D and beyond. It's a super exciting time. Okay. So talking about this, okay, and I'm going to say this again. You are only a small portion of your entire beingness that happens to be present in a physical body. This is just a thread of an expression of universal consciousness, pure source being, and there are many threads of the expression of you that lead back the ultimate expression of all, which is pure consciousness and pure source being. That's exciting. And this is where we just begin to get to the tip of the iceberg. We just begin to unpack the idea of multidimensional perspective, okay? So in this analogy, okay, you are a subdivision, a fractionated part of source. This is why you have ascension symptoms, by the way, okay? And we explore this in consciousness mechanics in my book, in the companion program, which is coming up on September 19th. We are all of us on this planet. Some of us are conscious of it, some of us are unconscious of it, but we are all going through a process of integration, a very profound process of integration right now, this particular point in time, this sweet spot. We're bringing past lessons in and gleaning information, knowledge, wisdom, and insight from that. We are activating higher light quotients, not only because of that clearing process of bringing in those past lessons and reconciling with them, releasing the pain of them, releasing the emotional baggage of them, allows us to bring in higher light quotients, that the ones that are hitting the planet, especially from the Lionsgate portal, these are massive. These are huge cosmic downloads of information. We can only bring these in if we release that emotional baggage, okay? If we declutter that shit, we're able to bring in these higher light quotients and activate more of our divine self, okay? We're breaking down and casting off lower thought forms, lower belief systems because of these lessons being integrated as well. These higher light quotients hitting the planet have made it so that our timeline now, this 3D timeline I'm talking about specifically, is such that we have awakened. We've been activated by these higher light quotients and this process of clearing out and releasing all the emotional baggage and shedding all that which we are not. Okay. These light quotients then allow us to be activated to a lighter crystalline cellular structure. This only allows us to bring in more information, to access more cosmic downloads, to access more of our divinity in a sense, kind of activating a process that's descension, because we are bringing in more of our multidimensional awareness that operates at higher timelines into our physical and ground it and anchor it here in 3D, which is super exciting. Again, we're in this energetic sweet spot. It's an absolutely amazing time to be alive and to play with these energies in really tangible ways. We are activating this lighter crystalline cellular density, and now we are embodying, and we are increasingly drawn to ever accelerated vibrational states of being. Okay? We are conscious of more than one dimension at any given time. This is a multidimensional perspective, and we're all in it. Whether we're conscious of that or unconscious of it is an entirely different thing. A lot of people are unconscious of it. But those of you who are on this spiritual journey of human awakening and accelerating your process of moving out of the 3D timeline and going to the heart-based unity consciousness of 5D, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You already feel it. You're already getting the tingles, the hair standing up on the back of your neck. You're getting Buddha bumps, goosebumps on your arms, okay? That means that you are remembering this. I'm not teaching you something. You're not learning something. You are remembering, okay? You are moving out of that fog bank because of the overlay of the 3D illusion, okay? We are conscious of more than one dimension of experience at any given time, and we are expanding our perceptual awareness to dimensions above and below our physical plane of experience. So I want to say something about the collective consciousness of humanity as it's ascending, because we are ascending as a collective. We all have an individual experience of it, obviously, and we're talking about having an ego perspective and an overlay at the same time that we're moving into 5D. This is your multidimensional perspective at work. So even though the collective consciousness of humanity is ascending, many on this planet are remaining locked in unconsciousness, or even very dense, the most base survival mode of 3D consciousness. Many are locked in this state. They don't realize that they're in their prison of their own thoughts and their own feelings, okay? This is why when we move into unity consciousness, we hold with much compassion and understanding and grace those in the collective who are imprisoned by their own thoughts, imprisoned by their own feelings, and they don't realize that they're holding the key to their own release, okay? This is why when we move into unity consciousness, we are holding these people in our prayers and in our hearts, and we are leading from a heart-based level. Because only from that level of perspective, moving out of our own baggage, moving out of our own victimhood, can we hold that space in our physical vessel for others to step up and ascend with us, okay? Do you understand that? So even though the collective consciousness of humanity is ascending, many remain locked in the densest forms of 3D consciousness. This level of consciousness focuses on differences, increased levels of contrast, separation, limitation, lack, poverty consciousness, fear, self-servingness, very controlling, dominating behaviors, and us against them, kind of dog-eat-dog kind of mentality, okay? The ultimate result of which is the creation of a world characterized by competition, by conflict, by suffering, by struggle. This no longer has to be your reality. It is entirely up to you whether you want to opt out of this duality or not. It's entirely up to you. So those that can break free from 3D consciousness, and especially the very lower, dense realms of emotional states of being, that's part of that base level, survival level 3D consciousness, that dog-eat-dog kind of stuff that I just talked about. Those that can break from that will have the immense pleasure and joy and delight of experiencing the birth and growth of a crazy, wonderful new era of humanity. This is characterized by cooperation, unity consciousness, leading from the heart, okay? the higher end of the emotional spectrum, where there's harmony, peace, forgiveness, mercy, compassion, kindness, prosperity for all. Not just for me and not just for you, but for all, okay? Cosmic bounty of all. Good stuff, right? So the key to participating in this new reality is to attain and maintain heightened levels of consciousness. And how do you do that? You learn to work with the tools of 5D, which I'm going to talk about in a second. So what's really interesting about this move into multidimensional awareness is that those of us who are breaking free and moving into the 5D paradigm, we are aware of two worlds, but we're still on one playing field. This is where things get really interesting. This is the paradox of multidimensional perspectives and multidimensional awareness, that we have consciousness of different realms, planes, dimensions of experience, but it's all playing out on this one playing field, because as long as we're in a body, that's the way it's going to feel. Does that make sense? Take a deep breath and take that in. That there are two worlds or more, but one playing field where this is all playing out, because we're in a body. And until we're not in a body anymore, we won't have this experience of one playing field. Okay? So I want to say this other thing about ascension consciousness and the collective ascension of humanity. Contrary to what some people believe about this across-dimensional, trans-dimensional shift that's happening, that's already underway, that's already very well underway, by the way, of going through 3D, 4D, 5D, and going back through these different, and cycling through these different emotional experiences, vibrational states that allow you to experience 3, 4, 5D, and beyond. Contrary to what some people believe about this trans-dimensional shift that's happening, that's underway, those who are remaining in 3D consciousness, that lower base level, survival level of 3D consciousness that I was just talking about, they don't disappear from our 4D reality. Let's just say when we're kind of oscillating between 3, 4, and 5D, that 4D is like the middle playing ground. Not a great analogy, but a good enough one for the sake of this conversation. Think of 4D as like a spectrum of experience that's like a purgatory, where you have the awareness of 3D, you have the awareness of 5D, and you can choose, based on what vibrational state you decide to occupy, where you want to go. You want to go back to 3D? Do you want to stay in 4D and kind of be in this kind of sweet spot of being able to choose? Or do you want to be in 5D? Those who are staying in 3D consciousness, and even though those of us who are kind of on this journey in a fun way, wanting to play this game and go through the oscillations of 3, 4, and 5D, we will still have awareness of those people in 3D. They don't disappear from our reality. They don't disappear from our dimensional realm of perspective. They will remain visible to each other as well. Those who will stay in a 3D consciousness, they'll be aware of people who are operating at different timelines, but they won't want anything to do with them. They won't want to participate at that level of experience, of leading from the heart, of moving into unity consciousness. So in a way, it is like we are invisible to them. Does that make sense? Because we're all in the same playing field. Here in 3D reality, while we're in a body, we're still going to be in 3D. This is what gives us multidimensional perspective, because we can still go into 4D, 5D, and even beyond that, depending on what kind of tools and technologies you want to play with. You can anchor into even higher timelines than that, even higher dimensional realities than that, if you so choose. We're capable of all this, okay? I'm going to talk about this more in just a second. And we'll all appear to be on the same playing field, even though those of us who decide not to participate in this ascension process of unity consciousness because they just decide to stay with lower thought forms, lower belief systems, again, be prisoners of their own thoughts and feelings. That's their free will choice to make. And so I have to tread that line very carefully, because I'm just here to present the information. I'm a scribe, I'm a messenger, and I'm here to deliver the information in a way that makes sense, and to make myself available for those who are like, I want to be where you're going, and then I can say, okay, great, grab my hand, I'll take you. This is fun where we're going. Come on, let's go along. I'm not here to convert anyone. I'm simply here to present the information. You take with it, you run with it the way you want to. You can say I'm full of shit and ignore it. You can play with some of these technologies, and you can play along with me and the other people who like to come along on this ride with me, or not. That's your free will choice. I'm not here to convert anybody. And none of us who are here to be way showers, light bearers, are here to convert anybody or move anyone out of their belief system. That's not our charge. Because you can't mess with people's free will. All you can do as a thought leader, a way shower, a light bearer, is bring the information. And everyone will make their choice based on their free will allegiances and designs to live their life the way they want to, okay? And despite appearances, it will be more like two separate worlds coexisting in the same space. Those of us who are making this shift now and anchoring into 5D timelines now, we're very aware of what this means. We're seeing the third density consciousness with others play out, and we want to rescue people. We want to help them. But if you're in that mode, if you're in that vibrational state where you want to rescue people or help them or change people's minds, you are wrapped up in 3D density also, okay? You're not here to change anyone's mind. You're not here to convert anybody. All you do as a 5-dimensional being who brings the light of unity consciousness, all you do is anchor that in your reality and be a beacon for others. I know that's hard for some of us to take on, especially when we have people who are close to us, friends, family members who are just not on board with where we're going at all. That's their decision to make. And all the more reason for you to anchor in more light. Because if there is any hope of them being privy to a greater awareness of something beyond the pain that they're in, the suffering that they're in, their only hope of being able to see that is to have that reflection, some reflection of that part of you reflect back to them. Because in a holographic universe that we find ourselves in, that's the only way it's going to happen. Does that make sense? Give me a heart if that makes sense. Okay. So despite appearances, it will be more like there's two separate worlds coexisting in the same space. Remember, I said 2 worlds, 1 playing field. That's how it's going to feel for a lot of us for a while. For the next 10, 12 years, this is going to feel very, very... this is going to play out even more immensely in the 3D playing field. So third density consciousness is going to play out, and this is going to be witnessed by those of us who have moved beyond 3D consciousness, and the world that's still trapped in old paradigms, power structures, the mentalities of, the prison of belief systems that are attached to lower thought forms. We're going to watch all that play out. We're going to be aware of that level of experience, but we're not going to participate in it any longer. And in fact, the more we become aware of 5D awareness and we anchor in the timelines by using tools and technologies in 5D awareness, we anchor in those timelines in a very practical and tangible way. And we understand more of the unfolding of that experience of 5D and beyond. We won't want to go back to 3D, even though we could choose to do it. We could choose to participate in that. But the more we anchor into 5D timelines, you ain't going to want to. You are not going to want to go back and play there, and you won't need to. You won't need to. So those that remain stuck in 3D consciousness won't just witness this kind of fall, because we are going to go through, it's not going to be necessarily a fall from grace or a fall from innocence, because we've done that already, but this is a fall from the old power structures, the old paradigms that are locking humanity in density and lower thought forms and lower belief systems that are perpetuating ways of being on the planet that are buried in negative emotions, buried in fear, locked in duality, okay? Those that remain stuck in 3D consciousness in that way, they will directly experience this in really profound and powerful, sometimes painful ways, but that's, again, their choice to stay locked in duality. And the unpleasantness that's associated with that, they're going to be locked into that. And that's why when I talked earlier last week about this massive dimensional shift between 3D and 5D, this is pretty much what I'm talking about. This is how this looks. This is how this plays out. that many people are going to be locked in this density and duality of 3D consciousness. Those who don't wish to wake up, they don't want to activate, they don't want to ascend, they don't want to opt into unity consciousness. They're hitting the repeat button on these patterns of disempowerment and very unpleasant ways of being that have already perpetuated throughout their field of experience over decades, and they're just hitting the repeat button on that. You don't have to do that. If you want to successfully make the shift, there are some keys to doing that. First and foremost is letting go of transcending the ego, okay? Releasing your emotional baggage. Releasing this idea of separation, okay? There's a lot of different ways to do that. Looking at the greater patterns in the world at play that are already starting to dissolve, okay? Just taking a look at some of the things that are dissolving in terms of power structures that have held humanity in density, where the power has been in the hands of the few versus the hands of the many. This is played out in the fraud of the global banking system. This is played out in secrecy, hidden agendas, hidden technologies. I'm not a conspiracy theorist here. These are actual things that are coming to light now. If you're paying attention to what's in the news, things are coming to light about the suppression of free energy and the technologies that are there. A lot of it has come from UFO and ET presence, okay? More of these stories are going to start to come up in the media. That's because there are economic, geopolitical manipulations, religious manipulations, social doctrines, manipulations to that effect that are dissolving, and those timelines are breaking up and dismantling. And with that, we start to see all this hidden secret stuff come to light. Mark my words, you're going to see more of this in the next decade play out in really, really big ways on this 3D playing field. And some people are going to stay locked in the outrage of that. That's keeping them stuck in the dense realm of 3D consciousness, where they won't be able to play out a reality in higher timelines. It's entirely up to you. All of this is entirely up to you, okay? But aside from releasing your emotional baggage and finding ways to meditate and work with your higher self, and finding, through the confusion, the mayhem, and the nonsense that's going on, the outrage that's going on, to find that spot of neutrality within you, where you're communing with the information that's coming in fast and furious from your higher self. You can watch the drama play out and you can participate in the drama playing out, or you can find that neutral space and anchor your light. Okay, that's another way we work with 5D energies. And I'm not going to go into that because that's what my program is for, okay? The Consciousness Mechanics of Ascension is a book, and it's a companion program. Starts September 19th at 10 a.m. Pacific time. This is what we're talking about in depth. And not only that, but the 8 technologies that have been shared with me to help you anchor in these higher 5D timelines. So, getting back to what I'm saying, now we know we have this multidimensional perspective. We have a multidimensional awareness and consciousness. But now what's really special, being this energetic sweet spot at this time on planet Earth, we are now ready to pivot. We're now ready to pivot into super consciousness. This is where we are aware of 3D, 4D, 5D, 6D, 7D, and beyond. Okay? But not only that, we are reacting physically, tangibly, to the higher stimuli. In other words, the higher information that is only available in these higher timelines. Okay? And the lower timelines. We're still going to be aware of 3D, like I said. So the super conscious is innately multidimensional. Okay? So, in essence, we are moving into cosmic ascension. We are running with this game of our multidimensional perspective and these timelines that are playing out, allowing us to be aware of multidimensional perspectives and waves of being. And we are grounding into a superconscious way of being by learning to use the tools and the technologies that are inherent to 5D and beyond, and grounding them into our 3D reality. We are fully capable of doing this. And this is how we access the superconscious. It is a tangible representation of working with multidimensional perspectives. So here we are in 3D, right? In the density of a body, in this physical vessel, this conduit of experience. We can have no experience at all without the body in 3D, okay? This is our filter of everything that we know, that we feel, we see, hear, taste, and touch, but we are beyond gleaning information from the 5 senses here. We are living beyond the mind, and we are living beyond the body when we are anchoring into superconscious realms. Okay? We're capable of using technologies and tools that are part of the information coded in 5D and beyond. And so by using practically, tangibly, like practically applying these tools of a higher order now while grounded in a body allows us to anchor higher timelines of being that allow us to have a multidimensional spectrum of experience and thusly allow us to be super conscious. And we anchor these timelines through tools, through using the tools. Otherwise, it's just conceptual. Otherwise, all of this is academic. But wouldn't you rather have a means of practically and tangibly using these tools that are available on higher levels of consciousness so that you can anchor in to these higher timelines and ways of being, into unity consciousness, into prosperity, into cosmic bounty? And those of you who are, I like to say, serving the light. Hi, Felicia. You are a thought leader, you are a way shower, you are an energy healer. If you are not anchoring these new technologies in right now, you are using old tech, and old tech only. There are 8 technologies that are brought in from different perspectives, let's just say, of multidimensional consciousness that have been shared with me. That's what the Consciousness Mechanics of Ascension book is all about. It is about activating and applying the technologies of 5D awareness into our 3D reality now. And there are 8 technologies. Some of them I've shared here on my personal page. So if you're interested in learning more about them, you can read through some of the posts on my personal page here. But these are tools and technologies. Consciousness mechanics is not a modality. But for those of you who are practicing healing work, whether you're doing self-healing or you are healing others, you would be remiss not to anchor in these new tools into your awareness. Because this new technology is here, we are capable of using it in very responsible ways, and it is only feeding the collective of the planet to move forward. So, for many people right now, this major timeline shift is being heightened by, accelerated levels of contrast, very stark contrast of ways of being, confusion, overwhelm. You don't have to suffer through this if you don't want to, okay? The natural flow of all things in life is towards source. The natural movement is for us to elevate into higher dimensional perspectives and experiences back towards source, which is pure love, which is love, okay? There is only love. Everything else is fractionated bits of something that eventually leads back towards love. That's the universe in a nutshell, okay? That's the cosmos and the great beyond and pure source consciousness in a nutshell. All that which we are seeks naturally to attain the highest frequency of being, so that the lower energies connect and reintegrate and synchronize back towards source. Okay, this is what I teach you or share with you or guide you in a process of remembering with one of these technologies, which is called Ascension code seeding. And there are others. There's the time release grid, which is used for self-healing, accelerated self-healing, and can be used in addition to any healing modality or method that you practice to use with your clients. It's an incredible, it's a really incredible tool, and I'm going to talk more about that in my live tomorrow. But we are able to, with these 8 technologies that I share in consciousness mechanics, activate and apply the technologies of 5D technologies now, 5D consciousness now, to our 3D reality. So I share these 8 technologies, and what they do is they orient your physical self to the higher frequency timelines of 5D and beyond through the light body. So you're living as your higher self, or one of your higher selves. But you can use these tools to keep accelerating through levels of consciousness and ever increasing levels of higher self-expressions that lead to basically the umbrella of your oversoul. We're able to live at this level now. If you do healing work on yourself or others, the technologies in this program and in this book will be a radical addition. The most radical addition to whatever healing methods or modalities you currently practice, and in some cases may even replace your existing methods and practices. So with these tools, and this list is not exhaustive, but you'll be able to accelerate your manifesting and healing abilities. You learn to use a tool for healing that alleviates ascension symptoms. Yes, you heard that right. You'll use a tool for healing that accelerates healing in yourself and your clients, eliminating any need to go into physical, spiritual, emotional, or mental crisis. That's the time release grid. You work with Andaran crystals. You work with sound. You work with the Hathors. It's an incredible, like crazy, useful tool. You learn to orient your physical being to receive more cosmic codes of ascension during dream time, and you're able to sleep better as you do it. You learn how to access the higher timelines of 5, 6, 7D and beyond. You learn how to jump timelines so that you can use it for all kinds of things, instantaneous healing or manifestation. You learn how to work with your etheric blueprint. It's like working with it's like working with the when you look at an architect's blueprint of a house and it's that blue carbon paper, it's like working with your etheric blueprint now, and you can use it to heal and upgrade your human body, to heal emotional patterns, physical patterns of chronic pain. These are all tools that I share with you in this 8-week program. So those of you who are really ready to dive into this, and I mean, you're going to blow your mind. I'm going to blow your mind. And those who bring in these perspectives, so we work with Lyran perspectives with these tools, Syrian perspectives, the Pleiadian perspective, the Arcturian perspective, the Andromedan perspective, the Hathorian perspective, the Lemurian perspective. All of these helpers are coming through, and you will have a sense and a presence of them as you are working very organically with these tools in this program. I've been told that as we organically flow through this information as a group and learn this information in the group program, that things are going to organically unfold, and that's just by just the mere process of coming together and learning this or remembering this as a group, that there are going to be certain things that come in, new technologies that come in real time while the course is being shared and taught. So the live program starts on September 19th, 10 a.m. Pacific time. There is a Facebook group, a private Facebook group for support, because there's going to be a lot of questions. There's going to be a ton of support for you guys from me and from the different perspectives of my multidimensional consciousness coming in to support and elevate you guys through this process of remembering these tools. There is a book, so you have a companion book to the course. It's an 8-week program. All the calls will be recorded and they'll be uploaded into the Facebook private group. There will be revisions to this book, and so you will always get any updates and revisions to this book as they come through. If there are things that are going to be added on, tools or technologies that I'm called to share with you, that's why we're having the Facebook group, because even after the course is over, if this information comes in, I'll do a live and I'll share this with you guys. So not only is this an incredible amount of value where your mind is going to be blown and you're going to learn 8 technologies, okay? Some of them are very, very simple, actually. Some of them are a little more complex. But not only, I mean, I want you to think beyond like, oh, I'm a healer, I got new stuff to add to my arsenal, new stuff to add to my toolbox. It's way beyond that. Because what consciousness mechanics does, it rearranges the atoms of your consciousness so that 5D is no longer just conceptual. It's not just an idea. It's not just a theory, okay, held by a few people. But it's practical, and it's present in the now, and it gets anchored in the now by practically using these tools. You're anchoring in these higher timelines of 5D and beyond, and you are living in unity consciousness now from an aspect of the higher self, where you opt out of the ego overlay of illusion, where you think the ego and all of your problems and all the things that are going wrong in your life are in the driver's seat, okay? If you are ready to have your mind blown and to opt out of what feels like old tech or old programming, and you are really ready to anchor into multidimensional awareness and the superconscious perspective, where you're actually using tools and technologies of higher timelines, this is the program for you. And you'll know it. I mean, if you watch this whole thing, you've been reading my posts, you'll know if this is for you or not. I don't have to sell you on this. I don't. I mean, I'm trying to present the information as best I can, but you will know if this program is for you or not. So as of today, Friday, there's 2 days left to get $200 off on this program. The full price is $9.97. Right now it's $7.97. And this is the book and the program and the Facebook group and any other additions that come later on that I just talked about. This is an incredible steal. And if you are using this as a healer and using these technologies to add on to the modalities you're using, or maybe even replacing some of the modalities or methods that you're using for healing yourself and others, if you were to use these tools in a couple sessions, you would make your money back in 2 or 3 sessions from this investment in this program. But it is going to change the way you look at your entire reality. It is going to change the way you live your day-to-day. Like I said, this consciousness mechanics program rearranges the atoms of your consciousness in a really profound and powerful way. This is exciting, and I can't wait to work with you. So I hope this message finds you well, and I hope that you have a beautiful weekend and day of lots of love, lots of peace.